Most superheroes are just knockoff, souped-up versions of our stories. To say that these creators need to pay homage is an understatement. But see, this is what Hollywood does. This is what America does. And this is what the entire world do. They love our culture, but they hate us. The word hero means protector or defender. The word hero has its origin and definition from the mythology of ancient Egypt. The ancient Egyptian word and god Heru is the root of the word and archetype of the modern word hero. Heru was adopted into Greek as Horus, from which the word was derived. Now, the similarities between Superman and the Egyptian god Heru are blatant. Heru has all-seeing eye. He has solar vision. Superman has laser vision. Heru lost his father. Superman lost both parents. Heru fights for Ma'at, which is truth, justice, and righteousness. Superman fights for truth, justice, and the American way. Heru's powers comes from the sun. Superman is a Kryptonian. Superman's powers comes from the Earth's yellow sun. The Superman's dynasty is the House of El. Superman's real name is Kal-El. Heru is the House of God. Heru as a baby fled Egypt with his mother Aset to escape destruction. Superman fled Krypton to escape destruction. Heru died and was resurrected. Superman died and was resurrected. Heru has divine strength and power, and he can fly at supernatural speeds. Superman has those same abilities, and he can fly faster than a speeding bullet. Many of the superheroes that we all know and love have the same characteristics and the same stories of our black kings, our black gods, and our black legends. The similarities of two of the most important men of the X-Men series share the same similarities of two civil rights leaders, Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Let's take a look at Professor X and Magneto. Professor X was similar to MLK. He wanted integration, and he had high hopes and dreams that one day all mutants and all humans will live together in peace. Professor X also wanted to have a nonviolent approach in his leadership. Magneto, however, was about that action. He was all about self-defense, and he was also willing to lead his people into warfare over their oppression. The X-Men always stood in his way. They always stopped him. All mutants were the oppressed group. with their leaders amongst them, one shared the same exact philosophy as MLK, and one had the same exact philosophies of Malcolm X. But Magneto was the villain. A quote from Stan Lee, the creator himself. I don't think of Magneto as a bad guy. He was just trying to strike back at the people who were so bigoted and racist. He was trying to defend mutants, and because society was not treating them fairly, he decided to teach society a lesson. He was a danger, of course, but I never thought of him as a villain.
So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare.
And what you and I have to let the man know is we are peaceful people. We are loving people. We love everybody who loves us. But we don't love anybody who doesn't love us. We're nonviolent with people who are nonviolent with us. But we are not nonviolent with anyone who is violent with us. All of you know I'm not an integrationist. I still believe the best thing for us to do is go back home to Africa.
I feel that nonviolence is really the only way that we can follow, because violence is just so self-defeating. A riot ends up creating many more problems for the Negro community than it solves. You can, through violence, burn down a building, but you can't establish justice. You can murder a murderer, but you can't murder through violence. You can murder a hater, but you can't murder hate. And what we are trying to get rid of is hate and injustice and all of these other things that continue the long night of man's inhumanity to man.
I would like to make a few comments concerning the difference between the Black Revolution and the Negro Revolution. There's a difference. When you study the historic nature of revolutions, you haven't got a revolution that doesn't involve bloodshed, and you're afraid to bleed. I say if you're afraid to bleed, you don't have a peaceful revolution. You don't have a turn the other cheek revolution. There's no such thing as a non-violent revolution. Only kind of revolution that's non-violent is the Negro Revolution. The only revolution based on loving your enemy is the Negro Revolution. The only revolution in which the goal is a desegregated lunch counter, a desegregated theater, a desegregated park, and a desegregated public toilets. You can sit down next to white folks on the toilet. That's no revolution. You don't know what a revolution is. If you did, you wouldn't use that word. A revolution is bloody. Revolution is hostile. Revolution knows no compromise. Revolution overturns and destroys everything that gets in its way.
By any means necessary.
It seems to me that there are 3 ways that oppressed people can deal with their oppression. Well, one is to rise up in open violence and physical violence. And some persons have used that method, persons who have been oppressed. But I think the danger of that method is its futility. I feel that violence creates many more social problems than it solves. I feel that non-violence, organized non-violent resistance is the most powerful weapon that oppressed people can use in breaking loose from the bondage of oppression. If passive resistance means just passively accepting violence or injustice, if it means cowardice and stagnant passivity, then there is a difference, because nonviolent resistance does resist. It is dynamically active. It is passive physically, but it is strongly active spiritually.
There's a great deal of difference between non-resistance to evil and non-violent resistance. Non-resistance leaves you in a state of stagnant passivity and deadening complacency.
wherein nonviolent resistance means that you do resist in a very strong and determined manner.
And I think you'll find that if Negroes ever have to resort to any kind of physical action to defend themselves, many white people will be on the side of Negro. Many white people are fed up with what the Negroes suffered. And this is what I had to become aware of on my pilgrimage to Mecca. I could see then that there are many white people in this country who will side with the Negro in whatever he has to do to protect himself. And I have in my many lectures on college campuses seen many whites, even as a black Muslim, whose reaction to much of what I had to say showed me that they were genuinely concerned. Some weren't genuinely concerned, but many of them were. And this element is increasing.
I must confess that that dream that I had that day has at many points turned into a nightmare. Now, I'm not one to lose hope. I keep on hoping. I still have faith in the future. But I've had to analyze many things over the last few years, and I would say over the last few months. I've gone through a lot of soul-searching and agonizing moments. And I've come to see that we have many more difficult days ahead, and some of the old optimism was a little superficial, and now it must be tempered with a solid realism. And I think the realistic fact is that we still have a long, long way to go.
The Dahomey Amazon women were some bad sisters. These warriors were all about decapitations, chopping you into pieces, or destroying anything that met them with resistance. The Dahomey Amazon women were an all-female military from West Africa. These women were about 6,000 strong, and they were also hunters. Serious hunters. They can destroy you with the weapons, or they can give you that hand-to-hand combat. They were beating the brakes off people. I'm talking about giving you a nice crispy two-piece with a biscuit, or they can grab them guns, or we could talk about the blade work, and you can get sliced up. Men would go into battle with these women, get embarrassed, and then go back to their homelands and lie. Lie about these mysterious women, these huge women, these creatures that they had to face who just were not human. And they will also lie about them cutting off one of their breasts so they can shoot their arrows better. These women have been featured all throughout the Marvel series. And I know you've seen Black Panther. The term Amazon that you've heard referring to tall women comes from these claims about the Dahomey Amazon women being so large that the men had no chance against them. Nah, these were regular sized, normal women who were highly trained and highly skilled. Thor is the god of thunder and lightning. Shango is the god of thunder and lightning. Thor has a red cape, and he's often depicted with blonde hair and blonde facial hair. But the real mythology of Thor, he has red hair and red facial hair. Shango color is red. Thor is the king of Asgard. Shango is the king of Koso. Thor has a hammer. Shango has a hammer. Wolverine, the metal guy. Ogun is the god of war and the god of metal and iron. Wolverine's skeleton is made of metal. Besides metal, there's not many similarities between Ogun and Wolverine. But check this out. During the Marvel series, Ogun was a mentor to Wolverine. There was a villain named Ogun who was a mentor to Wolverine. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. And let me know what you think in the comment section. Please follow the History with No Chaser Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram pages.